Imagine a chip so small it fits through a syringe, and so smart that once inside your brain, it unfurls into a mesh thinner than a human hair, 95% empty space, and begins listening to your neurons one by one. That chip exists. It is not a concept. It is not a prototype, and the first human trials begin this year. For decades, brain implants meant one thing: open skull surgery. A surgeon drilling through bone to place rigid metal probes into soft neural tissue, about the consistency of room temperature butter. The brain pushed back. Scar tissue formed around the implant. The signal degraded year after year. It was like trying to eavesdrop on a symphony by shoving a microphone stand through the orchestra. But in 2015, a team at Harvard asked a different question. What if the implant didn't fight the brain? What if it became part of it? The answer was mesh electronics. Polymer threads softer than silk, more flexible than brain tissue itself. You could roll it up, load it into a syringe, and inject it through a needle no wider than a strand of spaghetti. The mesh would settle into the brain and gently unfurl, like a spider web settling onto a pond. And the neurons did something no one expected. They grew through it. Researchers call this the biological handshake. The brain accepts the mesh, and the mesh, in return, listens to thousands of individual neurons simultaneously in real time. The data is staggering. A single implant generates petabytes of neural information, every firing pattern, every circuit lighting up, memories and movements captured at single-cell resolution. Processing that requires edge AI embedded directly on the device. And here is what is truly remarkable. The mesh does not just read the brain, it writes back into it. Targeted electrical micropulses restore lost function. A closed loop. Sensor to signal to stimulation, all inside the skull, all without a single incision beyond the initial injection. In late 2025, Columbia University published clinical trial results. 47 paralyzed patients, 89% regained functional independence within 6 months. 89%. At West Virginia University, researchers are preparing first-in-human trials of syringe-injectable mesh for 2026. The targets: late-stage Parkinson's, treatment-resistant depression, spinal cord injuries. And at MIT, Deblina Sarkar's lab pushed the frontier even further. Subcellular wireless electronic devices, SWEDs, so small they hitch a ride on immune cells through the bloodstream, cross the blood-brain barrier autonomously, and deliver electrical stimulation to circuits that have gone silent. No surgery, no needle, just a shot. The vision is simple. A patient walks into a clinic, receives an injection, and walks out with motor control restored, depression lifted, paralysis reversed. And now we arrive at the harder question. If a neural mesh can restore what was lost, can it enhance what was never lost? The military-to-civilian pipeline is well established. GPS, the internet, drones. All of them started as defense projects. DARPA funded the early mesh research. Neuralink's roadmap is public. First the paralyzed, then everyone else. Mass production, robotic surgery, a direct interface between your mind and the cloud. What happens when thoughts are no longer private? When your brain is a networked device and someone else controls the software? Charles Lieber, the Harvard scientist who pioneered this technology, once described it as building something the brain mistakes for itself. That is the paradox. The closer the mesh gets to being invisible, to being indistinguishable from us, the more powerful it becomes, and the more dangerous. The connectome is being mapped. The first patients are walking. The question is no longer whether this technology arrives. It is what we choose to do with it when it does. Would you let a neural mesh into your brain to restore what you've lost? And if you would you let it give you something you never had? Let me know in the comments.